How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
My fellow Americans, ladies and gentlemen across the fruited plain, welcome. I'm not watching politics. I want you to know that the Open is on. The British Open, for those of you in the UK. I don't like it when you call it the British Open. It's the Open. Well, in any event, I'm watching it. The phone number here, if you'd like to be on the program, 877-973-7425. Delighted to have you. If you text ENGAGE to 33777, text ENGAGE to 33777, you get a ticket to the gathering. You're a young professional. Use the code YR. You'll get a hefty discount. An attendee from last year wanted to step up and cover costs, subsidize the tickets for younger professionals. He said he was tired of going to political conferences, and it's all a bunch of people his age. He's older. He's in his, he's up there, I'll just say, and he wanted younger people to come. So he's subsidizing tickets. Use the discount code YR. You can get a good ticket. Come to the gathering. Mike Pence is going to be there. Brian Kemp's going to be there. Glenn Youngkin's going to be there. Doug Ducey's going to be there. Kevin Stitt's going to be there. Kevin Hearn's going to be there. Congressman Chip Roy's going to be there. Ron DeSantis is going to be there. Be a lot of fun. You can come hang out with them. Now, I got to switch gears. This is important. It's dead horse beating time for some of you, but I got to highlight it. The people at MSNBC, they are a pro-assassination, pro-conspiracy theory network at this point. Comcast has made a choice. Joy Reid is now questioning whether Donald Trump was even shot. You need to understand that press reports came out and original law enforcement sources did say that they thought it was possible that Donald Trump had not been shot. It's true. Original press reports suggested that Donald Trump had not actually been shot, and that what happened was Donald Trump had been grazed by glass from a shattered teleprompter. That's absolutely true, and we should not deny that that's true. That was an initial report. The problem is we now know that wasn't true, and that report has, in fact, been walked back by the press corps and by local media. And we know it's not true because we have something now that we did not necessarily have in the heat of the moment, which is photographic evidence. The teleprompter that supposedly shattered and cut Donald Trump is unshattered in the pictures after the assassination attempt. So you can't really say it, that you can see the pictures. You can see, in fact, that you got a teleprompter, and the teleprompter shows that, they're still there. They're still intact. There is no shattered glass. This is after Donald Trump has been lowered to the ground. In the picture, you can see the Secret Service has taken him down. Donald Trump is down. And, there are the teleprompters fully intact. As a result, it's not true. What Joy Reid speculated on is simply not true. And yet, despite that, Joy Reid was on a live stream saying she actually thinks that perhaps he wasn't shot. It's kind of a wild scenario here.
Congressman Ronnie Jackson of Texas, the former White House physician for Presidents Obama and Trump, a scary thought in and itself, who's now obviously a Republican congressman, having parlayed that position into a job in Congress. Jackson is one of the few people I will know who apparently knows what's under that bandage that Trump has been wearing at the convention. He says he replaced the dressing on Trump's ear on Sunday during the flight to Milwaukee, telling the New York Times, quote, "The bullet took off a little bit of the top of his ear in an area that just by nature bleeds like crazy. The dressings bulked up a bit because you need a bit of absorbent. You don't want to be walking around with bloody gauze on his ear," unquote. And that's all we really know about Trump's injury, which is weird, right? Because an attempted assassination of a president or a presidential candidate is very big. It's a big historical deal in a country where these kinds of incidents have taken place far too many times. The attempted assassination of Trump has been framed by some in the media as a game changer for the race, though who knows? But it is odd that we have gotten no medical reports or details about what's happened.
Just asking questions. It's what all the conspiracy theorists do. It's just asking questions. This is a pro-assassination network. And she's just asking questions. It's actually kind of remarkable that this is where we are, but it's not just her. J.D. Vance had a fund as a venture capitalist named after a figure in The Lord of the Rings. This is Rachel Maddow's commentary about Lord of the Rings. Listen to this.
Like Mr. Teal, who has named his companies after things in the Lord of the Rings series of J.R.R. Tolkien books. Lord of the Rings is a sort of favorite cosmos for naming things and cultural references for a lot of far-right and alt-right figures, both in Europe and the United States. Peter Thiel names all these things after Tolkien figures and places, like his company Palantir, for example. Like his mentor, like Peter Thiel, who had given him all his jobs in the world, Mr. Vance also, when he founded his own venture capital firm with help from Peter Thiel, named it after a Lord of the Rings thing. He called it Narya, N-A-R-Y-A, which you can remember because it's Aryan, but you move the end to the front. Apparently that word has something to do with elves and rings from the Lord of the Rings series. I don't know.
Notice how she says Aryan. It's Aryan if you just move but you move the A around. Rachel Maddow favors herself to be a public intellectual. That's her framing. She's a public intellectual. J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote The Lord of the Rings, was an expert in linguistics and rejected publishing the Lord of the Rings series in German and was deeply insulting to the Germans over their Aryan beliefs, and in fact rejected Aryanism as a false religion and a badly put together mythology. The fact that she decided to bring up that is directly Rachel Maddow trying to tie J.D. Vance and Lord of the Rings to the Aryan mythology that J.R.R. Tolkien himself rejected. And again, J.R.R. Tolkien refused to publish the Lord of the Rings in German because of the Nazis. He wanted nothing to do with them and Aryanism. And in fact, part of the Lord of the Rings is a rebuke to the whole idea of Nazism. And yet this is what passes for publicly intellectual commentary on MSNBC from someone who fancies herself a public intellectual. She is mouthing off about something about which either she is deeply ignorant or willfully, maliciously lying about to try to make a Nazi reference to J.D. Vance. This a few days after a former president was nearly assassinated, and her colleague is casting doubts on the assassination. In this network where they've been openly rooting for Donald Trump to be assassinated, Comcast made a choice on this stuff. But wait, it gets even better. Did you know what one of the Easter eggs, one of the dog whistles of white supremacy is? Well, listen.
I know that there was not the same red meat sort of blood and soil nationalism that you might hear in, I don't know, other parallel universe Republican conventions. But I do think there were some sort of Easter eggs of white nationalism in the speech. One of the things that stuck out to me was when he started talking about what America is. He said, America is not just an idea. It is a group of people with a shared history and a common future. The thing about America is that it's not a group of people with shared history. In fact, I think a lot of people would argue it's quite the opposite. It's a lot of people with different histories, different heritages.
His in-laws don't share the history.
Exactly. And that's the other piece of it. He goes on, he went a long sort of a paragraph at least about this plot in eastern Kentucky where his 6 generations of his family are buried. And his hope is that his wife and he are eventually laid to rest there and their kids follow them. And I sort of understand the idea of sharing the burial plot, but it also it reveals someone who believes that the history that the family should inherit, and indeed the history that should be determinative in the story of the Vance family, is the history of the Eastern Kentucky Vances, and not the Vances from San Diego, which is where his wife is from and where her Indian parents are from. But in America, it doesn't always have to be the white male lineage that trumps that defines the family history, that branch of the tree supersedes all else. And I just think the construction of this notion reveals a lot about someone who fundamentally believes in the supremacy of whiteness and masculinity. And it's couched in a sort of halcyon, revisitation of his roots, but it is actually really revealing about what he thinks matters and who America is. And that America is a place for people with a shared Western background. And that is the idea of America. That is the nation of America that he wants to resurrect.
Okay. Do you understand this? Do you understand what she's saying? That if you want to be buried in your family's cemetery, and you want your children to one day be buried in your family's cemetery, that's an Easter egg of white supremacy. Comcast has made a choice in this. You have a network that has fantasized about the assassination of Donald Trump, that now is throwing out conspiracy theories. Remember, it's not just Joy Reid on speculating whether or not Donald Trump was actually shot. It was Michael Steele, the former chairman of the Republican National Committee, as well, on MSNBC, who cast doubt on Donald Trump being shot and suggested that the AR-15 would be a high-caliber round and it would have blown his ear off, which is not true. Michael Steele's just simply ignorant on that point, and yet he felt confident enough to mouth it off on MSNBC to cast doubts on Donald Trump's alleged assassination, except it's not an alleged assassination. It was an actual assassination attempt. Let's say Donald Trump did actually just get hit by glass from a teleprompter. We know it's not true because we have the photographic evidence of the teleprompters intact after the assassination attempt. We have the photo from Doug Mills of the bullet passing through Donald Trump's ear. We have the photographic evidence of the bullet. We have the photographic evidence of the teleprompters, and Joy Reid and Michael Steele and others at MSNBC would prefer you believe them and not your eyes. But let's just say it's true. Donald Trump got cut by the glass of the teleprompter. He was still shot at by a would-be assassin. Whether he was hurt by the glass or the bullet doesn't change the fact he nearly died. Doesn't change that fact at all. But the pro-assassination network of MSNBC wants you to believe a number of things. One, that maybe Donald Trump wasn't hit with a bullet. Two, maybe Donald Trump actually organized the whole thing himself to make himself look good. Three, maybe, just maybe, J.D. Vance is citing J.R.R. Tolkien because he is referencing Nazi mythology when J.R.R. Tolkien himself specifically condemned Nazism and wouldn't publish The Lord of the Rings in German. And maybe, just maybe, J.D. Vance wanting to be buried in his family plot and have his children one day buried alongside him in eastern Kentucky in the family cemetery is a sign of white supremacy. This is the network that Comcast thinks is fit to air across our nation, rotting the brains of progressives who are increasingly violent. And if there's any Comcast executive listening, I want you to know the God's honest truth. We've had 3 assassination attempts in this country done by MSNBC viewers of a would-be attempt on Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, on Republican members of Congress, on a conservative family group in Washington, D.C. I don't know anything about Thomas Matthew Crook's viewing habits, but I do know that your network has been openly just pushing the idea that someone needs to do something to stop Donald Trump, to save our democracy. If you don't think crazy people can be induced by the network's rhetoric, you haven't been paying attention. And now they're seeding conspiracy theories about J.R.R. Tolkien and J.D. Vance and dog whistles of white supremacy, and continuing to cast doubt on whether or not Donald Trump was even possibly shot, which we all saw ourselves. But then this is the network that for 3 years have told us that Joe Biden is the sharpest, brilliant, most together president ever. And I want to welcome Bill to the Eric Erickson Show. Bill, how are you?
Hello?
Hi there, Bill. Welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Phil, Eric.
Phil, blame Charlie. It's his fault.
That's okay. If I called Bill all the time, Phil, Bill.
That's all right.
I wanted to say God bless those Gold Star families. And, I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they got up and spoke. I cried through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
As I was listening to them and watching it on TV, above the TV on our console is a lot of family pictures. And there's a picture of my son in his dress blues, right out of boot camp, 18 years old. And if it had been my son, I don't think that's anything I could even ever recover from.
Mm-hmm. It honestly, it was a powerful moment. So what branch of the service is your son in?
Marines. He's in the Marine Corps. He's 22 now, 23, just turned 23. He's in the reserves.
Well, look, God bless him. And look, Bill, I got to let you go there, but I appreciate your son's service. Thank you for calling, and you're absolutely right. It was emotional. Now, I got to let Bill go, and there's just no way to transition into telling you about Vision Computer. My apologies, but I do got to tell you about them because they are a great company. Vision Computers can build you a computer. They can service your computers. If you buy a computer from Vision and build it with Vision, they will give you the service for free. 15 seconds or less, you get the answer to any question you have. You can call them at 404-COMPUTE, 404-COMPUTE, or visioncomputers.com, 404-COMPUTE, or visioncomputers.com. If you don't have a computer from Vision and you want a computer and you need tech support, you can't afford IT support, for $179 a year, Vision can be your tech support. You can call them, your staff can call them, your employees can call them, your secretary can call them, 15 seconds or less, get the answer to what you need. Email support, printer support, you name it. VisionComputers.com, or call them at 404-COMPUTE. If you call them at 404-COMPUTE, tell them I sent you, you're going to get an even better deal. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE, anywhere nationwide, Vision Computers can be your tech support solution. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, Joel calling from WOKV, Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Eric. Now, let me get this straight now. The Secret Service agent is supposed to be able to take a bullet for the president. But, hey, going up on a slope roof, that's where we draw the line, huh? Tell me about it, huh?
Listen, that Eric, not the most bizarre thing?
I got a driveway that's steeper than that roof.
Uh-huh.
I tell you, absurd.
Yeah, okay.
And when they start making up lies like that, they're scared.
Okay, I got to tell you, it's not actually a lie. Believe it or not, that is the current director of the Secret Service. It's her policy. It's not actually a lie. Yeah. Now, for those of you who haven't heard this, let me just play this for you. This is what Joel, because I gotta be honest with you guys, I didn't believe it. I did not believe it. This is the ABC News interview with the head of the Secret Service. Let me make sure I've got my audio routed because I want y'all to hear this clip because this is a real thing. This is going to kind of pick up in the middle of this interview so y'all can hear this clip.
This video showing a bystander pointing towards the building as police look onto the roof. Butler town officials confirming that after they became aware of the threat, a local police officer climbed up to the roof and confronted Crooks, but did not succeed in stopping him.
What was your reaction when you saw the events unfold on Saturday?
Shock, and then concern, obviously, for the former president.
Investigators now trying to determine whether roof access had been properly locked down. The shooter climbing up seemingly unimpeded, about 400 feet from the stage, with a direct line of sight on the former president.
Should that roof have been secure, period?
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
To secure the building from inside. The director of the Secret Service told ABC News that because the building on which Thomas Matthew Crooks laid down to shoot Trump, because it had a sloped roof, they made the decision to secure the building from the inside, not from the roof. I want you to know a few things that have come up. One, this actually is Secret Service protocol. But two, it's protocol from this director of the Secret Service, not from others. It's her directive, not the agency as a whole, to keep her agents safe. The men and women who were supposed to jump in front of a bullet to save the life of a president, she decided she didn't want them on slope roofs. You have no doubt seen the famous photo now of the sniper on the barn roof. There was a red barn with a very high slope, and there was a sniper. That was a local law enforcement sniper. It was not Secret Service because the roof had a slope. So they put local police up there. Now, there are a whole lot of people out there who are convinced this is a government conspiracy. Many of you have families with kids. And at night, you ask the worst possible question to be asked in the history of asking questions. The most painful question to be asked in a family at about 5 p.m. is, what do you want for supper? And then the conversation for the next 2 hours, at least in my house, is food. What sort of food? The type that you eat. What type that you eat? The type that you eat to give yourself calories and nutrients and make you not hungry. Well, what sort of food do you want? Good food. What is good food? The type that I want. Well, what do you want? Food. What sort of food? I want food that's good to eat. Well, what sort of food do you consider good to eat? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. I asked you. Well, now I'm asking you. Well, I don't know what I want. I asked you first. Well, I'm not answering. You have to answer to me. What sort of food do you want? Good food. What is good food? I don't know the type of food that you said you want is good food too. Arrive at the conclusion, and 2 hours later, you put the frozen pizza in the oven for yourself while your kids starve. Not that I know anything about this, Gunnar and Evelyn. That's every single night in my house, unless my wife or I have already decided, here's what I'm cooking for supper. And lately, we've all been so busy, we've been eating out a lot, which we shouldn't. Bad for the budget. Dave Ramsey would not be happy. But we just haven't been home a lot lately. And it's a food. What sort of food? Good food. What sort of good food? The good food that I like. What sort of good food do you like? And on it goes for hours. Same thing happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Who's guarding the roof? Well, I'm not guarding the roof. The roof has a slope. We're not allowed to guard the roof. You guard the roof. I'm not guarding the roof. It's hot up there. Well, yes, it's hot up there, but we can't guard the roof because it's a slope. Well, we'll get the state police to do it. State police, no, it's the Secret Service's job. It's in their advance plan that the roof's got to be guarded. Somebody's got to guard the roof. The Secret Service advance plan says the local police are guarding the roof. Well, we're not guarding the roof because it's hot up there. And on they went. While Thomas Matthew Crooks was climbing a ladder to get to the roof to shoot the President of the United States, the Secret Service, local law enforcement, and state police were arguing about who's going to cover the roof. The more voices you add to the conversation, the more the paralysis of decision works out, the longer the conversation takes, and nothing happens, and a president nearly got killed because of it. Because the director of the Secret Service, who says the buck stops with her, who is refusing to resign, decided for the safety of the people who could jump in front of a bullet to save the president's life, they couldn't climb a roof with a 2-degree slope. That is less of a slope than my home driveway. I don't know about y'all, but my driveway has got a pretty good slope to it. And I walk down that driveway every day to the mailbox. My 84-year-old father has a steeper slope than I have, and my 84-year-old father walks down the slope of his driveway every day to pick up the newspaper and take the trash when he needs to. And then he walks back up the slope. Joe Biden walks up and down slopes higher than the slope of that roof, and yet the head of the Secret Service, who will not resign, and Joe Biden will not fire, decided for the safety of the agents that they couldn't walk the roof. My buddy Vince, who my son and I were hanging out with yesterday, is a home builder, and he says the slope roof was only a 412 to 612 slope. It's very easy to walk on. It only starts to get dicey if it's an 812 or more. The roof is like your standard Georgia 70s ranch where old guys named Harold still climb up to sweep out their gutters. Could have been easily covered. He's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. Y'all, there are going to be more conspiracy theories because there's no accountability. And Philip, you this is right here where you can cut and put this on social media, my moment of brilliance. Lloyd Austin is the Secretary of Defense who went missing for a week with no accountability from Joe Biden. No one knew Lloyd Austin was undergoing medical procedure. His Assistant Secretary of Defense was out of the country. Lloyd Austin told no one. The Defense Department was unmanned at the top highest level. No one lost their job over the cluster in Afghanistan, retreating from Afghanistan, leaving weapons behind that landed in the hands of Hamas. Yes, that actually happened. No one has been held accountable by this administration. No one lost their job. No one lost their job after giving Iran much money that was then used to fund Hamas, that was used to launch the October 7th attack. They denied all of it, but it's true. It happened. We subsidized it. No one has lost their job. And now the director of the Secret Service, who said the buck stopped with her and who told her agents not to climb a minimally sloped roof because she thought it would put their lives in jeopardy, she's not going to resign. This is why we have so many conspiracy theories. This is why so many people are convinced that there is some great evil lurking because no one's held accountable for their incompetence, and people cannot sleep well at night knowing there's this much incompetence. They must concoct a conspiracy theory because a man will sleep better at night thinking the people in charge are evil and malicious and have a plan to affect their evil than they will sleep knowing they're run by idiots. None of you can believe there's this much incompetence. You're trying to process. Surely someone wanted Donald Trump to die. That's why this happened. Surely someone let this slip by to cause harm because you would rather sleep well at night thinking that than realize we're governed by idiots and presided over by morons. No one wants to think that. But we get more incompetence when there's never accountability. There's no incentive to become competent when there's no accountability for incompetence. That's what Joe Biden has done. Our government is now run by a bunch of technocrats because you have a dementia-riddled old man in charge, and those technocrats are idiots who think we have to listen to them by virtue of them being in charge, as opposed to recognizing they're a bunch of idiots. You all think a bunch of conspiracy theories about COVID turned out to be true. They weren't conspiracy theories. It was all common sense. The elite told you they were conspiracy theories and told you they were wrong. And you knew that by virtue of your common sense that a little piece of plexiglass was not going to stop a virus. It's not about conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories haven't been coming true. The common sense of your average man is playing out as better than the common sense of the incompetent bureaucrats. And now so many of you are so convinced there must be something nefarious because you will not sleep well. You will not function well. You will not function as an American citizen in your daily life if you truly process the staggering amount of incompetence at the federal level at a time the world is on fire. In a confluence of events, we are seeing the randomness of those events play out, and we're seeing the incompetence of the elite play out, and you've got to process it as malice, because to process it truthfully as incompetence would leave you up at night writhing in terror that the world is on fire, the enemy is approaching, the enemy might already be here through an unsecure border, and we have morons in charge led by a drooling 81-year-old who doesn't know what time of day it is and says black jobs are the vice president of the United States, blah. I think I'd rather imagine a conspiracy theory, too, just so I can get some sleep at night instead of curling up in the fetal position and asking, why, God, why? But it's incompetence. It always was, always will be. And as long as no one loses their job, it's only going to get worse. Then you got the banking situation, the economic situation, all that happening. Interest rates at a 22-year high. Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years, and they've been warning people about a secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war, you need their free report, The Secret War on Cash. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Swiss America can educate you on protecting your assets in their report, The Secret War on Cash. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. It's completely free, and you can get a copy by calling or texting my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. All you have to do is text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, or call him and mention my name, 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, but it's real easy. Just text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, well, too late. I got one more call to take. I am going to go to Jim. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hello, Eric.
Hi there.
You're fine. I'm fine. We're all fine today. Last night's speech between the Gold Star parents that were talking good about President Trump and his granddaughter talking good about President Trump, I think that resonated with a lot of people, that he is a real caring person that would be good for our country. That being said, with the Democrats bemoaning the new rally call, fight, 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 he should come out tonight wearing a pirate's earring through his bullet hole.
And an eye patch.
There you go. Maybe a hook even.
Yes. Yeah, look, I'm, you know, he said, he's told several reporters he decided to change the tone of his speech to be a unifying speech. Here's what I can tell you is going to happen is that no matter what he says, the American media, particularly MSNBC, NBC, the Washington Post, the like, they're going to attack it as an angry, mean, nasty speech. Doesn't matter what he says. No, I mean, he could come out tonight and say, I love Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I wish the best for them. And I think that we should all be friends. We just disagree on things, but we all want what's good for the country. You know my vision of the country, and I hope you'll vote for me. The end. He could do that, and they will say, that was the most white nationalist, awful, nasty speech ever. They could do that. They would do that. So it doesn't matter what he says. But I do kind of think it'd be great if Donald Trump came out. He said he starts with something touching about the firefighter who died at his rally in Pennsylvania. He pays tribute to law enforcement and pays tribute to those who were wounded. And he says we got to come together as a country. Do a real unity speech and then let the Democrats excoriate it. Here's why I think he should strategically. For 4 years, the Democrats have lied to us, as has the press, but I repeat myself, about Joe Biden's mental competence. They've lied to us. Everybody knows they've lied to us. The Democrats' own internal polling shows that they believe that the American public is less likely to vote for anyone who has lied about Joe Biden's competence. So you come out, you give a unity speech, and just watch the media excoriate you. And all it's going to do in the minds of those who watched the speech, and many Americans will, is to realize the media continues to lie. And that works to help Donald Trump. It works to realize what a disaster they are, what a lying people they are. That, I think, is a good thing. That, I think, is a way forward for everybody. I think it's a great way forward for the Republicans to continue to undermine confidence in the press. You don't have to attack the press. Just point out that the press has been one of the chief instigators in lying about Joe Biden. The press itself has been one of the major instigators in lying and covering up Joe Biden's health, and they only decided to cover it when they realized he might lose to Donald Trump. That's the only reason members of the press have started covering Joe Biden's mental decline. They have pretended the whole time it wasn't a thing until they couldn't pretend anymore, and now they're doing everything they can to try to cover it and push him out of the race so they can go back to lying for the Democrats. Donald Trump gives a unity speech. The media will yet again ask Americans to not believe their eyes, but believe them, and it will fall flat, and it will ruin the media's credibility. I think that's where he needs to head. It's going to be an interesting speech. I will watch it tonight, and we will cover it and take your calls tomorrow on Open Line Friday. See you all then.